Guys, and we want to welcome you to our monthly webinar. Tips for Navigating Holiday Stress is this month's topic, and I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Susan Guzman. She is the co-founder of the Behavioral Diabetes Institute in San Diego, California, and she will be providing us with some very helpful tips and strategies to effectively manage diabetes during the holidays. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Guzman. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, just a little bit about me. So I am a diabetes psychologist, and I have been for the last 20 years. And I am the co-founder, and I work at the Behavioral Diabetes Institute in San Diego, California, which is a nonprofit organization solely devoted to the emotional behavioral aspects of living with diabetes. So today I'm going to talk to you about the different types of stress and how stress can affect both diabetes and your overall health. I'll review 3 common holiday stressors that people often talk about, and then we'll discuss 5 tips to navigate this stress, and we'll have some opportunity for question and answer. So the types of stress. Oftentimes when people hear about stress, they think about intense stress, like if you were to, for example, get into a car accident, or for me, have a spider land on me. So intense stress is an immediate reaction that we often refer to as fight and flight. And it primes our body to run, hide, avoid, or fight. And this often occurs as a reaction to very stressful events. And in fact, a serious hypoglycemic event or serious low will trigger the same fight-flight response. And it calls for immediate action. Our bodies want to immediately either flee or challenge the threat directly. And it's an automatic response. It's not something we think about. And so the response is often impulsive and not carefully thought through. What you do in reaction is an immediate reaction to overcome that stressful threat. But most stress that we face is chronic or ongoing. And the hormones that we release in response to chronic stress are different. For example, cortisol. We often hear about cortisol as associated with central belly fat. And it causes ongoing increase in inflammation, such as C-reactive protein or pro-inflammatory cytokines. And these are significantly associated with an increased risk of cardiovascular disease or heart disease, and arthritis, and certain cancers over time. An ongoing increase in chemicals that also affect the immune and brain functioning, such as glucocorticoids and catecholamines, and these things influence behavior. The bottom line is that all of these are associated with increased levels of blood glucose and increased blood glucose variability. That's the up and down of blood glucose or blood sugars. And stress affects your diabetes and your general health. And some of these effects are direct and some of them are indirect. So the direct effects are the result of how hormones wreak havoc on your body as the result of stress. And the release of these stress hormones like cortisol can spike your blood glucose. And this happens whether you have diabetes or not. But when you do have diabetes, stress can make getting your blood glucose down much harder. A lot of people report that what they normally do doesn't seem to work when they're stressed. And then there's indirect effects. In some ways, these are way more impactful on diabetes. And those have to do with like what happens when we're stressed. When we're stressed, we often snack more. We crave comfort food. If only celery was a comfort food. And comfort foods tend to be high in fat and sugar and all the things that can be not helpful for your blood glucose levels. So cravings for comfort food, but then also when you're stressed, sleep tends to be affected. And that can show up in blood glucose levels as well. And then when we're stressed, the very things that would help, we often don't make time for. Like planning for your own self-care, for exercise, meal planning, and all the other tasks involved in diabetes management tend to go out the window when we're stressed. So I separated 3 common holiday stressors into 3 general buckets. The first one is what I hear about from people when they're really stressed is oftentimes there's too much to do and just simply not enough time. So when you think about all the stuff that you do for the holidays, it could be that you're shopping for gifts, you're planning meals, you're maybe having to travel, you're having family come into town, or you're having to deal with family that you don't normally deal with, parties, things at work, and oftentimes the holidays fall at the end of the year, and that means that at your work you might have end of year deadlines and things like that, or if you're a student having to deal with tests and final exams or midterms, or a lot of times there's a lot of life going on at this time of year, not just stuff to do with the holidays specifically. And then carbs are everywhere. That's something I hear a lot about, is that you can't, all of our celebrations around the holidays, and there can be many of them, often involve a lot of the foods that we try to avoid when you have diabetes. And then probably one of the most problematic stressors is family interactions that can sometimes be stressful, and family members that you perhaps don't see often on purpose. You don't get that luxury of trying to avoid at holiday events. And then there's the infamous diabetes police. And diabetes police are the people in our lives that feel it necessary to look at how we're eating or examine our behavior, and to make unwanted and unnecessary comments about our food choices and other aspects of diabetes management. So here are some tips to navigate holiday stress. The first one is slow down and breathe. Now, when you're stressed, having somebody else tell you to slow down and breathe is not particularly helpful. But when you say this to yourself, it can actually make a really big difference. Slow down and breathe. So we'll practice this in a minute, but just in general, if you can think about putting into your busy day, even when it feels like that you can't afford a few minutes, it can really help you become more clear in your thinking, have more energy to approach the day, and just feel better in your own body. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the here and now at this moment. And there's certain breathing techniques that I'll show you a few of them that can help get rid of the stress in your body. And the slow down and breathe is really about keeping things in perspective. So having a few moments of your own self-care is important. And to be aware of perfectionism, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. But let's practice some mindfulness breathing techniques. So if you can get comfortable in your chair, put your feet flat on the floor, your hands at your side. We'll start with a big, deep breath, just in through your nose and out through your mouth. Oftentimes I'll notice when I'm stressed, I do that naturally, and that's your body's own way of trying to do this on its own. But so we're going to just take a moment. So if you can close your eyes, and we're going to start with a proper breath. So oftentimes when we're stressed, we breathe through high up in our chests, like almost like a pant, and we're not even aware of it, like this shallow, high chest breathing. And what we really want is deep belly breaths, all the way down from where, if you put your hand on your belly, if you can feel that if you've made your hand go up and down from more of your belly area, that's a proper diaphragmatic breath. That's a much better breath for relaxation. And so what you want to do is breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Nice and slow. And if you can imagine that you have like a birthday candle in front of your mouth, and when you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, you're tipping the candle, but you're not blowing it out. So you just want that flame to just tip over, but you're not blowing it out, so that you're in through your mouth, in through your nose and out through your mouth. And now I want you to just close your eyes and practice this breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. And we're going to try an exercise where you fully engage your mind so that you can be completely present in this moment. I want you to imagine that with each breath, that when you're breathing in, you have a relaxation color. Sometimes people picture this as blue or purple or white. And I want you to imagine a color that represents stress, like black or red or whatever color that you can think of that represents that for you. And then with every breath, you're breathing in relaxation of that color that you've chosen. And with every breath that you exhale, you're exhaling stress. And imagine that you're exhaling stress out of your body in that color. So now with each breath, I want you to imagine starting at the top of your head that you're breathing in that color of relaxation, and you're moving it from the top of your head and exhaling stress. So that you imagine as you're breathing in relaxation, you can see that color starting to take over the stress in your head. And imagine also the stress in your face and in the top of your neck. And as you exhale, you're exhaling out that stress and that muscle tension. And in areas where you maybe hold more stress, like your neck and your shoulders, you might need to take a few more breaths and a few more moments to breathe in the relaxation into that area. So breathing out the stress, imagining that with every breath, your neck and your shoulders become more and more relaxed. Moving in that color of relaxation and feel the muscles relax and release. Breathing out stress. With every breath, we're going to continue to make more of your body relaxed, moving your awareness down your shoulders and into your arms. Imagining that you're breathing in that color of relaxation and exhaling the stress. And as you do that, your arms become more and more relaxed, letting go of the tension as you exhale the stress. And now as you continue to breathe, we're going to move that relaxation into your upper body. And with every breath, you're moving out the stress and breathing in relaxation. And feel the full weight of your body sitting on the chair as you move your relaxation into that part of your body, feeling yourself being more and more relaxed as you breathe in relaxation and exhale stress. Now imagine that you're moving your consciousness down your legs, feeling your muscles in your legs relax and become heavy as you continue to breathe in that relaxation. And moving your awareness down your legs and into your feet and all the way out to your toes. So now that you can imagine your entire body is in that relaxation color. Again, just bring your awareness back to your breathing. Breathing in relaxation and exhaling stress. And then when you're ready, open your eyes. Hopefully you all feel good from that exercise, and you can see so that we took a few minutes to do that. But even if you only had 1 minute, you could just do the breathing technique, just putting, even in your car, sitting at your desk, putting your hand on your belly and just being fully aware of your breath. Even a few minutes can make a big difference. So shifting gears now that you're all relaxed, to the importance of saying no. Now, saying no during times of stress can actually be a really important self-care action, because you can't be all things to all people all of the time. And unfortunately, when we're stressed, we are probably pulled in a lot of different directions, trying to please everyone in our lives and meet our deadlines and take care of our diabetes and doing all of the things that are important. But when time is limited, and time is a limited commodity, as you all know, that you can't do everything. So decide which things and activities are most important. And sometimes it's helpful to list them all out if you keep a calendar, to see which of the things perhaps that you could say no to. Don't expect yourself to be part of every activity. Managing diabetes and other chronic health conditions is like having another job, and this requires both time and energy. When saying no to food offerings, it's important to not feel deprived. So if you're saying no, think about it as a choice or a trade. Like, I'm saying no to that piece of pie, but that's a choice I'm making. I can choose the pie, but if I'm choosing to say no, that is my choice. or the idea of a trade. Like sometimes I might say, bring on the pie. And what I'm trading is perhaps a higher blood glucose level later. So you can think about it as a trade. Or when you're saying no, I'm deciding not to trade that. And probably one of the most important strategies, and this is actually harder than it sounds, is to plan ahead for excursions. For example, if you decided that you want to have the higher carb foods at Thanksgiving, to plan for this, think about how you're going to do the early part of your day. Perhaps plan a low carb day beforehand, or maybe even the day before, and then plan to take a walk after dinner. Some people decide that they're going to try and stay on their meal plan at parties, and they find it helpful to either bring their own meal or snacks, as like a buffet style. So they're bringing something that they know that would be safe for them to eat to stay on their plan. But that might sound weird. So another strategy that people do is that they actually have their own meal at home before they go, and then just nibble when they're there. And then the idea of healthier. So a lot of times we do what's called all or nothing thinking. So I'm either going to have the high carb food, or the whole Thanksgiving spread or holiday spread, or I'm going to try and be perfect and not eat any of it. And the idea of healthier is, for example, like maybe you decide you want to go ahead and have the all of the Thanksgiving meal, but instead of having normal portions that you otherwise would have if you didn't have diabetes, you have small portions instead. Now, are you still having more carbs than maybe you otherwise would? Yeah, but it's healthier to have smaller portions of the high carb foods than the full size. So think about what choices you can make that are healthier. Avoid all or nothing thinking. And when it comes to family and diabetes police, pick your battles. So, and what I mean by this is decide when it is important to speak up, leave the room, or say nothing. And thinking about whether you're talking to, for example, your sister, your boss's wife, or your grandma, you might have very different responses to those three types of people. One, you might just, like, for example, your sister, you might decide to speak up. You may decide not to do that to your boss's spouse. Instead, you may leave the room. Or to your grandma, you might choose to just politely nod and say nothing. But you have to decide what is important to you. I suggest you have a canned response ready when you do decide to speak up. For example, if somebody says, "Don't you have diabetes? Should you be eating that?" You can say something like, "With modern diabetes care, there are no good or bad foods. You can plan ahead to eat sweets or other foods safely." Or again, you may decide to simply ignore it. And then the fifth tip is to choose priority self-care actions and plan for them. So think about what are the key components of your diabetes management. So one of our colleagues sat in a standard diabetes education class, and she counted the number of behaviors that were being recommended to people with diabetes. So that's things like learn about carbohydrates, learn how to perhaps limit sweets and saturated fats, learn how to monitor your blood glucose, check your feet, have your labs done, if you're smoking, quit, a whole number of behaviors. But she quit counting at 150 things. And not all of those things are going to equally help with your diabetes management. So what are the key components of your diabetes management? For example, am I on my medication, and am I taking them? And perhaps physical activity is something that I know really helps with my diabetes management and my stress. That's a key component. So think about ahead, what are the key components of your diabetes management, and make these non-negotiable. In other words, no matter how busy life gets or what happens, you have to work these in. Just like you don't skip brushing your teeth. You figure out a way to make that fit into a busy day. And then you have to make a plan for them. Our best intentions can get messed up if we don't have an adequate plan. So make a plan for these busy times. How exactly are you going to get these things in? For example, if you're traveling for the holidays and exercise is one of your non-negotiables, think about how you're going to get it in. For example, make sure to pack my running shoes and my workout clothes, and bring diabetes-friendly snacks in case that I don't have access to them. Are there any questions? Well, a common question that I often get is, what are some resources for handling the diabetes police? And I want to point you to some of the things that are on our website that you have access to for free, behavioraldiabetes.org. So you can see which category applies to you: type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, spouse, partner, or parent. And if you click on that, you'll see certain resources that have been categorized that would be appropriate for you. But for the diabetes police, we have a couple of resources that you might find helpful. We have this little booklet. It's called it's the size of a business card, and it unfolds accordion style. And it's called the Diabetes Etiquette Card. And it has a few do's and don'ts for people who don't have diabetes. So it says things like, please don't give me unsolicited advice about my eating habits and other aspects of my diabetes care. But then it also has some do's. Do join me in making a healthy lifestyle change, or do offer your encouragement and support. And we have a diabetes etiquette card for people who don't have diabetes, and we also have one that was written with the help of our teenagers for their parents. And it's also appropriate for other family members. And on our website, we also have a lot of other resources, videos, and everything on our website, like those booklets, there's a small fee for a hard copy, but you can always download it as a PDF for free. And if you have a specific question you'd like to ask me more privately, you can email me at info@behavioraldiabetes.org. I thank you for your interest and for watching this video, and I wish you a healthy and happy holiday season.
Thank you so much, Dr. Guzman. We appreciate your time and all the valuable information. And can you just take a moment? So I understand Behavioral Diabetes Institute is a nonprofit organization. How does someone go about, getting help? I know you have a lot of resources on the website, but how does that work? And I know you guys are located in San Diego.
Yeah, right now, everything we do in person is offered in San Diego. Unfortunately, that's a resource issue as a nonprofit. In order to reach more people, everything that we do in person is in San Diego, but we try to put a lot of our information online the best that we can. But in terms of individual, if you're looking for a diabetes knowledgeable mental health professional, for example, the American Diabetes Association has partnered with the American Psychological Association to come up with a training program to help people find resources for mental health issues that are with a trained professional that gets diabetes, and they have a resource page. So at diabetes.org, which is the American Diabetes Association, they do have a mental health resource page for people who have completed their training or have otherwise demonstrated their diabetes competent.
Okay, that's really helpful. And again, it's such valuable information. And that's why we were so thrilled to have you on our webinar this month, just spreading the information to people even outside of San Diego. So thank you so much for your time. And thank you all for joining us. And we'll see you next month. Have a great day.
Thank you.